There was red lipstick on my husband's collar when he came down from checking on the caterers, and it wasn't my shade. I wear Rouge Dior $9.99. This was cheap. Drugstore cheap. The kind of cheap that a 26-year-old wears when she's trying to look expensive but doesn't have a trust fund to back it up. I smiled at him across our Hamptons living room full of Christmas lights and important people, and I knew exactly what I was about to do. I was about to ruin his whole life before midnight. Welcome to Drama Coda. Stay with me until the end because this story gets wild. Leave a like and rate this story 1 to 10 in the comments. My name is Victoria Sterling and I'm 39 years old. Well, I was 39 when this happened. I'm 41 now. And I'm about to tell you how one Christmas party in the Hamptons turned me from a devoted wife into a single millionaire with an art gallery empire and an Italian sculptor boyfriend who looks like he walked off a magazine cover. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Way ahead. Because the story of how I got here, how I went from Park Avenue housewife to independent businesswoman, from betrayed spouse to empowered single woman, that story has layers. Deep layers. The kind of layers that take time to peel back. The kind that reveal truths about marriage and money and power and what it really means to value yourself. Let me take you back. All the way back. Not just to the party. But to the beginning. To how I met Preston. To how we built this life. To how I slowly, quietly, without even realizing it, lost myself in the process of being his wife. I met Preston Sterling when I was 25 years old. Fresh out of grad school. Columbia. I'd gotten my master's in art history and I was working at a small gallery in Chelsea. Not Soho yet. Chelsea. The rent was cheaper. The space was tiny. The owner was this eccentric woman named Delilah who wore kaftans and smoked cigarettes indoors even though it was illegal and she didn't care. I loved that job. Loved being surrounded by art. Loved talking to artists about their process and their inspiration and what they were trying to say with their work. Preston came in one afternoon in October. I remember it was October because the leaves were changing and the light coming through the gallery windows had that golden autumn quality that makes everything look like a painting. He walked in wearing a suit. Expensive suit. I didn't know designers back then, but I knew expensive when I saw it. He had this confidence about him. This way of moving through space like he owned it. Like the world was his and he was just letting the rest of us live in it. He looked at the art for maybe 10 minutes. Then he came over to where I was standing at the desk and he said, "Tell me about this piece." He was pointing at an abstract painting. All blues and grays and whites. It looked like water. Or sky. Or the space between being awake and dreaming. I told him about the artist. A woman from Brooklyn who painted emotional landscapes. Who used color to express feeling rather than form. Who was trying to capture the essence of longing in visual form. He listened. Really listened. Asked questions. Smart questions. The kind that showed he was actually thinking about what I was saying and not just trying to impress me. At the end of the conversation he bought the painting. $12,000. Just like that. Wrote a check. Didn't haggle. Didn't ask for a discount. Just bought it. Then he asked me to dinner. I said yes. That was the beginning. Dinner turned into drinks. Drinks turned into a weekend in the Hamptons. A weekend turned into 6 months of dating. 6 months turned into a proposal. A proposal turned into a wedding at the plaza with 300 guests and a dress that cost more than my annual salary and a honeymoon in Bali that lasted 3 weeks. It was a fairy tale. Or at least it looked like one from the outside. Park Avenue apartment. Summer house in the Hamptons. Winter trips to Aspen. Preston's banking career was taking off. He was making serious money. 7 figures. Then 8 figures. We were invited to all the right parties. All the right galas. All the right charity events where women wore jewels that cost more than cars and men talked about market trends and everyone pretended they cared about whatever cause they were fundraising for that night. I got caught up in it. The lifestyle. The glamour. The feeling of being part of this elite world. I started shopping at stores I couldn't have afforded before Preston. Started getting my hair done at salons where they served champagne while you waited. Started wearing jewelry that required insurance. Started becoming the kind of woman who said things like my husband at parties when talking about accomplishments that were his, not mine. But I still had my gallery dreams. That didn't go away. 3 years into our marriage I told Preston I wanted to open my own place. He said okay. Said he'd help me. Said he believed in me. And he did help. He co-signed the lease when I couldn't qualify on my own. He gave me money for renovations. For inventory. For hiring staff. He was supportive. In his way. But there was always this undercurrent. This subtle implication that my gallery was cute. Was nice. Was a hobby. Something to keep me busy while he did the real work of making real money. He never said it directly. But it was there. In the way he'd introduce me at parties. This is my wife Victoria. She has a little gallery in Soho. Little. Always little. Like adding that word somehow made it less threatening. Less real. Less mine. I let it slide. That's what you do when you're in love, right? You let things slide. You give people the benefit of the doubt. You tell yourself they don't mean it the way it sounds. You tell yourself you're being too sensitive. Too demanding. Too much. I told myself a lot of things. The gallery did well. Really well. Better than Preston expected. Better than I expected honestly. I had a good eye for talent. For artists who were on the verge of breaking through. I'd find them early. Show their work. Build their careers. And as their careers grew, so did mine. Within 5 years I was representing 20 artists. Making $1 million a year in sales. Getting written up in art magazines. Getting invited to international art fairs. Preston was proud. Sort of. He liked telling people about my success. Liked the credibility it gave him in certain circles. But he also got weird about it sometimes. Would make jokes about how I was going to out-earn him one day. Would say things like don't get too successful or you won't need me anymore. He'd laugh when he said it, but there was something in his eyes. Something that looked like fear. Or resentment. Or both. I ignored it. Added it to the list of things I was ignoring. The list was getting long. By year 10 of our marriage things had shifted. We weren't fighting exactly. We were just distant. He worked late all the time. I worked late all the time. We'd see each other at breakfast if we were lucky. At dinner once or twice a week. On weekends we'd go to the Hamptons and he'd play golf and I'd read and we'd have people over and we'd act like everything was fine. It wasn't fine. We hadn't had sex in 6 months. Maybe longer. I'd stopped counting. Stopped trying to initiate. Stopped wondering why he wasn't interested anymore. I told myself it was normal. We were busy. We were older. The passion fades. That's what happens in long marriages. Right? Wrong. But I didn't know that yet. Year 11 things got worse. Preston was traveling more. Hong Kong. London. Singapore. Sometimes for a week at a time. He'd call me from hotel rooms and I could hear the noise in the background. Music. Laughter. The sound of people having fun while I sat alone in our Park Avenue apartment eating takeout and watching Netflix and wondering when my life had become so small. I started noticing things. Little things. His phone was always face down now. He'd changed his passcode. When I asked him why, he said the bank required it for security. Made sense. Except it didn't. Because why would the bank care about his personal phone passcode? He came home from a trip to Miami smelling different. Not bad. Just different. Like perfume that wasn't mine. I asked him about it. He said he'd hugged a colleague at the airport. A woman named Jennifer. They'd worked together on a deal. It was nothing. Just a friendly hug. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe him so badly. Because the alternative was too terrifying. The alternative meant my marriage was a lie. Meant I'd wasted over a decade on someone who didn't value me. Meant I'd have to start over. And starting over at 38 felt impossible. So I believed him. Or pretended to. Same difference really. Then came the therapy idea. I'd been reading articles online about marriage counseling. About how it could help couples reconnect. Communicate better. Work through issues before they became insurmountable. I brought it up to Preston one night over dinner. We were at this Italian restaurant in the West Village. One of those places with candles on the table and exposed brick and waiters who call you Bella. I said I think we should see a therapist. Work on us. He looked annoyed. Said there's nothing wrong with us. We're fine. I said we barely talk anymore. We barely touch. When's the last time we had a real conversation about something other than logistics and schedules? He said I'm busy. You're busy. That's life. I said it doesn't have to be. He said I'll think about it. He didn't think about it. He forgot about it. Or ignored it. Either way we never went. And I didn't push it. Just added it to the list. The list of things I was letting slide. The list of ways I was making myself smaller to keep the peace. That's when I started seeing Dr. Kim. Rachel Kim. Upper East Side. Office with a view. I went alone since Preston wouldn't come with me. I told her everything. The distance. The phone behavior. The perfume. The feeling that I was losing my husband to something or someone I couldn't see. She listened for 3 sessions. Then she said, Victoria, you already know the truth. You just don't want to face it. That hit me like a slap. Because she was right. I did know. Deep down I knew. I just didn't want to admit it. Didn't want to be that woman. The one whose husband cheats. The one who didn't see it coming. The one who gets pitted at parties. Dr. Kim said you have to decide what you're willing to tolerate. And then you have to communicate that clearly. Give him a chance to choose. Therapy or divorce. But you have to mean it. You can't bluff. I thought about it for weeks. Rehearsed the conversation in my head. Imagined all the ways it could go. Preston agreeing to therapy. Preston getting angry. Preston crying. Preston laughing it off. Preston finally admitting there was someone else. I decided to have the conversation at our Christmas party. I know that sounds insane. Who does that? But I had my reasons. I wanted witnesses. Not to the conversation itself, but to whatever came after. I wanted to make it real. Make it so he couldn't just sweet-talk me out of it later when we were alone and I was vulnerable. The party was scheduled for December 23rd. 2 days before Christmas. Perfect timing, really. Festive. Everyone in a good mood. Everyone drinking. Everyone relaxed. The ideal environment for a life-changing ultimatum. I spent 2 weeks planning that party. Every detail had to be perfect. I hired the best caterers in New York City. A company that usually books out a year in advance, but I knew someone who knew someone and I got them. They charged $20,000 for the night. Preston said it was too much. I said it was Christmas. It was our house. It was worth it. He shrugged. Said fine. Whatever you want. That's what he said about most things related to the house or the party or anything he considered my domain. Whatever you want, Victoria. Like he couldn't be bothered to have an opinion. I ordered the Christmas tree in November. Had to special order it from Vermont. I wanted real. I wanted tall. I wanted perfect. It arrived on a truck 3 days before the party. 18 feet of Douglas fir. It took 4 men to get it in the house and set up. Took me and my assistant 2 full days to decorate. White lights. Thousands of them. Gold ornaments. Delicate glass ones from Germany that cost $30 each. Crystal snowflakes. A gold star on top that had to be attached with a ladder. When it was finished, it looked like something out of a magazine. Out of a dream. It touched the ceiling and it sparkled and it smelled like forest and winter and magic. Preston walked past it without commenting. I told myself he was stressed about work. About year-end. About bonuses. I told myself a lot of things. The ice sculptures were custom. I'd hired an artist. A real artist who normally does installations for museums. He created these incredible pieces. A reindeer. A snowflake. A champagne bucket carved entirely from ice. They cost $8,000 and they were worth it. They were art. They were conversation pieces. They were exactly the kind of thing people would remember and talk about. I had the caterers prepare a menu that was pure Christmas luxury. Lobster tails with drawn butter. Filet mignon crostini. Oysters on the half shell. Scallops wrapped in bacon. Mini beef Wellingtons. Truffle mac and cheese bites. Smoked salmon on pumpernickel. Shrimp cocktail. And desserts. Oh, the desserts. Chocolate truffles shaped like ornaments. Gingerbread cookies decorated with edible gold. Mini creme brulees. Champagne cupcakes. Everything you could imagine. The champagne itself was crystal. 20 cases. $300 a bottle. I did the math. That's $6,000 just in champagne. Preston saw the invoice and asked if I was serious. I said it's Christmas. We're hosting 200 people. We're not serving cheap champagne. He signed off on it, but I could tell he thought I was being excessive. Maybe I was. But it was my party. My house. My marriage that was falling apart. I was entitled to some excess. I hired a string quartet. For musicians from Juilliard. They played Christmas classics. Silent Night. Oh Holy Night. The First Noel. Carol of the Bells. But arranged in this sophisticated classical style that felt elegant rather than cheesy. They played in the corner of the living room by the tree and they sounded like heaven. I sent the invitations 6 weeks in advance. Heavy card stock. Custom designed. Gold foil. Hand calligraphed. They were beautiful. And expensive. $30 per invitation. For 200 invitations. You do the math. Preston definitely did the math. But he didn't say anything. Just raised his eyebrows when he saw them and went back to his laptop. The responses came flooding in. Everyone said yes. Everyone wanted to come. The Sterling Christmas party. It was becoming a thing. A tradition. Something people looked forward to. I felt proud of that. Proud that I'd created something people valued. Something that was mine. I bought my dress 2 months before the party. Went shopping with my friend Claire. She's an art dealer too. We've known each other since grad school. She's one of the few people in my life who knew me before Preston. Before Park Avenue. Before I became Victoria Sterling, banker's wife. We went to Bergdorf Goodman. I tried on maybe 20 dresses. Black ones. Red ones. Green ones. Gold ones. Nothing felt right. Then the saleswoman brought out the Valentino. Black. Strapless. Fitted through the bodice and hips, then flowing into this dramatic skirt with layers of tulle underneath. It was stunning. It was powerful. It was exactly what I needed to feel like myself. Claire said, "You look like you could run the world in that dress." I said, "Good. That's exactly how I need to feel." It cost $15,000. I didn't blink. Didn't hesitate. Just handed over my credit card. Preston would see the charge later. Probably make a comment. I didn't care. I was done caring what Preston thought about how I spent money that I earned. The day of the party I spent 6 hours getting ready. Hair appointment at 9 in the morning. My stylist, Marco, he's amazing. He pulled my hair back into this sleek low bun. Elegant. Sophisticated. Not a hair out of place. Makeup appointment at noon. My makeup artist, Sienna, she understood the assignment. Dramatic but not overdone. Smoky eyes. Perfect skin. Bold red lip. I looked expensive. I looked powerful. I looked like a woman who had her life together even though inside I was falling apart. I got dressed at 4. The party started at 7, so I had time. Time to breathe. Time to prepare. Time to go over what I was going to say to Preston when I pulled him aside later that night. Therapy or divorce. That's all I had to say. Simple. Clear. Direct. No room for misinterpretation. I rehearsed it in the mirror. Preston, I need to talk to you. I've been thinking about us. About our marriage. I think we need help. Professional help. I want to try couples therapy. I want us to work on this. But I need you to commit. Really commit. And if you can't do that, if you won't do that, then I want a divorce. Because I can't keep living like this. I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. I deserve better. We both do. But I need you to choose. Tonight. Right now. Therapy or divorce. I practiced saying it without crying. Without my voice shaking. Without sounding desperate or weak or like I was begging. I was not begging. I was requiring. There's a difference. By 6:30 the house was ready. The caterers had arrived and set up. The bartenders were in position. The musicians were tuning their instruments. The ice sculptures were in place and lit with special lighting. The tree was perfect. Everything was perfect. Preston came downstairs at 6:45. He wore a navy tuxedo. Tom Ford. He looked good. I hated that he looked good. Hated that even now, even knowing what I knew, some part of me still found him attractive. Still wanted him to choose me. He looked at me and said, "You look nice." Nice. After 6 hours of preparation and $15,000. Nice. I said, "Thank you." He said, "Ready for this?" I said, "As ready as I'll ever be." We went downstairs together. Stood by the door. Put on our hosting faces. Our perfect couple faces. Our everything is wonderful faces. And we waited for our guests to arrive. They started coming at 7:05. The fashionably late crowd. They came in waves. Couples mostly. Some singles. Everyone dressed to impress. The women in designer gowns and statement jewelry. The men in tuxedos and expensive watches. Everyone bringing gifts. Wine. Champagne. Fancy chocolates. Ornaments for our tree. Things we didn't need but accepted graciously anyway. I played the perfect hostess. Took coats. Offered champagne. Introduced people. Made sure everyone had food and drinks and someone to talk to. I worked that party like it was my job. Which I guess it was. Being Preston's wife. That was the job. Looking good. Being charming. Making everyone feel welcome. Making Preston look good by extension. Preston worked the room too. He was in his element. Shaking hands with other bankers. Talking shop with lawyers and hedge fund guys. Laughing too loud at jokes that weren't funny. Slapping backs. Being the guy everyone wanted to know. The guy with the Park Avenue apartment and the Hamptons house and the beautiful wife who threw perfect parties. I watched him. Watched him charm. Watched him perform. Watched him be this version of himself that was all surface. All polish. No depth. No vulnerability. No truth. When had he become this person? Or had he always been this person and I just didn't want to see it? Around 8:30 Preston said he needed to check on the caterers. Something about ice for the bar. He'd be right back. He headed upstairs. I thought nothing of it at first. The kitchen was upstairs. The caterers were working upstairs. Made sense. But then 15 minutes passed. Then 20. I started to notice. Started to feel that familiar twist in my stomach. That something's wrong feeling. That he's lying feeling. I kept hosting. Kept smiling. Kept pretending. But inside I was counting. 25 minutes. 30 minutes. 35 minutes. When he finally came back down I knew immediately. His bow tie was crooked. Just slightly. Like someone had grabbed it. Or loosened it. Or adjusted it. His hair looked different. Like he'd run his hands through it. Or someone else had. And there was lipstick on his collar. Red lipstick. Not my shade. I wear Rouge Dior $9.99. Deep red. Sophisticated. This was bright red. Cheap red. The kind of red that screams trying too hard. I felt like I'd been punched. Like all the air had left my lungs. Like the floor had dropped out from under me. But I didn't show it. I smiled. I walked over to him. I touched his arm. Gentle. Casual. Like nothing was wrong. I said, "Honey, you have something on your collar." He looked down. Saw the lipstick. And I watched his face. Watched him calculate. Watched him decide what lie to tell. He laughed. This easy, breezy laugh. Said, "Oh, must have brushed against something upstairs. You know how it is with all these people." I said, "Yes. I know how it is." But I didn't brush it off. I didn't let it go. I excused myself. Told the nearest guest I needed to check on something in the kitchen. And I went upstairs. Our house has 4 floors. Living room and dining room on the main floor. Kitchen and family room on the 2nd floor. Our bedroom and office on the 3rd floor. Guest rooms on the 4th floor. I went to the 4th floor. Slowly. Quietly. Like I was hunting. And I was hunting. I was hunting for the truth. The truth I'd been avoiding. The truth Dr. Kim said I already knew. There are 5 guest bedrooms on the 4th floor. I checked them one by one. The first one was empty. Perfect. Untouched. The second one was empty. The third one was empty. The fourth one was empty. The fifth one. The one at the end of the hall. The door was cracked open. Just slightly. Just enough that I could see inside without pushing it all the way open. And there she was. Madison. Preston's assistant. I'd met her exactly twice. Once at a company dinner. Once when she dropped off papers at our apartment. Both times I'd barely registered her. Blonde. Young. Perfectly pleasant in that professional assistant way. Nothing threatening. Nothing to worry about. Except now she was in my guest bedroom. In my house. During my Christmas party. Reapplying her lipstick in the mirror above the dresser. Red lipstick. Cheap red drugstore lipstick that was currently smeared on my husband's collar. She was humming. Some Christmas song. Jingle bells maybe. Or Deck the Halls. I couldn't tell. My ears were ringing. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. But I stood there. Watching her. Watching her fix her makeup. Smooth her hair. Adjust her dress. A red dress. Of course it was red. Tight. Short. The kind of dress that says I'm here to be noticed. She hadn't noticed me yet. She was too busy admiring herself. Too busy making sure she looked perfect before going back downstairs. Back to the party. Back to pretending she was just an assistant at a work event. I watched her for maybe 30 seconds. Maybe a minute. Time felt strange. Slow and fast at the same time. And in that minute I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Wasn't going to scream or cry or cause a scene. I was going to handle this my way. Quietly. Strategically. Effectively. I turned around. Walked back downstairs. Poured myself a full glass of champagne. Drank half of it in one go. Then I went to find Preston. He was talking to his colleague David. They were discussing some merger. Some deal. Something that was supposedly so important that Preston had to work weekends and travel constantly and miss dinner and check his phone at midnight. Something that was definitely not more important than our marriage, but Preston seemed to think it was. I waited for a pause in the conversation. Then I said, Preston, can I borrow you for a moment? David said, of course, of course. You two have a wonderful party here. Thanks for having me. He wandered off toward the bar. Preston looked at me. Said, what's up? I said, we need to talk. Privately. Now. He must have heard something in my voice because his expression changed. The easy confidence slipped just slightly. He said, okay. Let's go to my study. We walked through the party. Through all those people drinking our champagne and eating our food and having the time of their lives. Through all that Christmas cheer and festive energy and joy. And I felt nothing. Nothing but cold fury. We got to Preston's study. I closed the door behind us. Turned to face him. And I said the 5 words I'd been rehearsing. But not the ones I'd planned. The situation had changed. The script had changed. Everything had changed. I said I want a divorce. Just like that. No preamble. No explanation. No tears. Just 5 words. Clear. Direct. Final. Preston stared at me. His mouth actually fell open slightly. He said, what? I said, you heard me. I want a divorce. He laughed. That same easy laugh from before. Said, Vic, what are you talking about? We have 200 people out there. I said, I know. And you have your assistant upstairs. In our guest bedroom. Reapplying the lipstick that's currently on your collar. Red lipstick. The cheap kind. The kind Madison wears. I watched the color drain from his face. Actually watched it. Like someone had pulled a plug and all the blood just drained away. He went pale. Then gray. Then almost green. He didn't deny it. That's the thing that killed me. He didn't even try to deny it. Didn't say I don't know what you're talking about. Didn't say you're being crazy. Didn't say she must have borrowed the bathroom. He just stood there. Silent. Caught. And in that silence I heard everything I needed to know. I heard the truth. I heard the confirmation. I heard the end of my marriage. I said I was going to give you a choice tonight. I was going to ask you to go to couples therapy with me. To work on us. To fight for our marriage. I had this whole speech planned. About how I think we've lost our way. About how I think we can find it again if we both commit. About how I'm willing to try if you are. I paused. Let that sink in. Then I said, but you already made your choice. You made it upstairs 30 minutes ago. You chose her. So I'm choosing me. I'm choosing divorce. Preston tried to speak. Opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Finally he said, Victoria, it's not what you think. I laughed. Actually laughed. Said, it's exactly what I think. You're sleeping with your assistant. In our house. During our Christmas party. While I'm downstairs hosting 200 guests. It's exactly what I think. He said, we can talk about this. We can work through this. I said, no. We can't. Because here's the thing, Preston. Even if I didn't just see Madison in our guest bedroom. Even if I hadn't noticed the lipstick. Even if I hadn't spent the last year watching you pull away from me. The fact that you didn't immediately say yes to couples therapy tells me everything I need to know. You don't want to work on us. You want to keep doing what you're doing. You want me here playing the perfect wife while you have your fun somewhere else. And I'm done. I'm done playing that role. He said, you're overreacting. That's when I lost it. Just for a second. I stepped toward him. Close enough that I could smell his cologne. Smell her perfume mixed with his cologne. And I said, don't you dare tell me I'm overreacting. Don't you dare try to make this my fault. You cheated. You lied. You brought your mistress to our house. To our Christmas party. And you have the audacity to tell me I'm overreacting. He stepped back. Actually stepped back like I might hit him. I wouldn't. I'm not violent. But I wanted him to feel cornered. Wanted him to feel trapped. Wanted him to feel even a fraction of what I was feeling. I said, I'm filing for divorce on Monday. You can sleep in one of the guest rooms tonight. Not the one Madison was in. Pick a different one. And tomorrow you're going to start looking for an apartment. Because I'm keeping this house. I'm keeping the Hamptons house. I'm keeping my gallery. And after my lawyers are done with you, I'm keeping half of everything else. Every stock. Every bond. Every penny you've made during our marriage. All of it. Half of it is mine. Preston's face changed. Now he looked angry. Said, you can't do that. I said, watch me. I've been married to you for 12 years. I know exactly how much you're worth. I know about the offshore accounts. The investments. The bonuses you thought I didn't know about. I know all of it. And I want half. He said, this is ridiculous. You're being vindictive. I said, I'm being smart. There's a difference. Now get out of this room. Get out of my sight. And if you value your reputation, if you value your career, if you value anything about your life, you'll keep smiling for the rest of this party. You'll pretend everything is fine. You'll play the perfect host. And when everyone leaves, you'll pack a bag and you'll move into a guest room. And then on Monday we'll start the process of dissolving this joke of a marriage. He said, Victoria, please. I said, get out. He left. Just turned around and walked out. Left me standing in his study. His study with his leather chairs and his mahogany desk and his wall of books he'd never read. Left me standing there shaking. Actually physically shaking. I sat down in his chair. Put my head in my hands. And I let myself feel it. All of it. The betrayal. The hurt. The anger. The sadness. The fear. The relief. Yes, relief. Because finally it was over. Finally I could stop pretending. Finally I could stop wondering and worrying and making excuses. I sat there for maybe 5 minutes. Then I stood up. Went to the bathroom connected to his study. Looked at myself in the mirror. My makeup was still perfect. My hair was still perfect. My dress was still perfect. I looked like a woman who had everything. Who had it all. I looked like a lie. But I fixed my face. Reapplied my lipstick. The good kind. Rouge Dior $9.99. The expensive kind. The kind that doesn't smear on collars because the women who wear it don't sneak around. They walk through the front door. And I went back to the party. For the next 5 hours I was the best hostess I've ever been. I smiled bigger. Laughed louder. Talked to everyone. Made sure drinks were full and plates were full and everyone was having the time of their lives. I took photos with guests. I told stories. I played Christmas music. I led a sing-along of Jingle Bells at 11:30. I was magical. I was perfect. I was everything a Park Avenue hostess should be. And the whole time Preston stood across the room looking like he was attending his own funeral. He barely spoke. Barely smiled. Just nursed the same glass of scotch for 3 hours and watched me work the room. Watched me shine. Watched me show everyone exactly what he was losing. Madison left around 10. I watched her slip out. Watched her grab her coat from the closet by the door. Watched her glance back once at Preston. He didn't look at her. Didn't acknowledge her. Just stared into his scotch like it held answers. She left. And I smiled. Because I knew. I knew that whatever they had, it wasn't going to survive what was coming. It was built on secrecy. On stolen moments. On the thrill of getting away with something. Once it was out in the open, once Preston was divorced and available, once there was no more sneaking around, it would crumble. They always do. The party wound down around 1 a.m. The last guests trickled out. Couples calling for their cars. Putting on coats. Thanking us for a wonderful evening. A perfect Christmas party. The best one yet. If only they knew. When everyone was gone, the catering staff started cleaning up. I told them to leave it. I'd handle it in the morning. They looked surprised but didn't argue. Took their tip and left. The house was suddenly very quiet. Just me and Preston, and the wreckage of our marriage spread out between the champagne glasses and chocolate truffles. Preston tried to talk to me. Tried to explain. Tried to apologize. I held up my hand and said, I don't want to hear it. I don't want your excuses. I don't want your apologies. I want you out of my sight. He went upstairs. I sat on the couch in my $15,000 dress, surrounded by Christmas decorations and half-empty champagne glasses and the wreckage of my marriage, and I cried. Not pretty crying. Ugly crying. The kind where you can't breathe and your whole body shakes and you wonder how you got here. How you didn't see it coming. How you gave 12 years to someone who threw them away for a 26-year-old assistant. But here's the thing about rock bottom. It's solid. You can build on it. And that's exactly what I did. Monday morning I called the best divorce lawyer in New York. Her name was Patricia Weinstein, and she had a reputation for destroying unfaithful husbands in court. She charged $800 an hour, and she was worth every penny. We met Tuesday. I brought everything. Bank statements. Property deeds. Business documents. Photos. I even brought Preston's laptop that he'd left at home. Patricia smiled when she saw that laptop. Said, Victoria, you're my favorite kind of client. Prepared. Turns out Preston had been sloppy. Really sloppy. Emails to Madison going back 8 months. Hotel receipts. Credit card statements showing jewelry purchases I never received. He'd even bought her a handbag. A Birkin. $35,000 for a bag for his mistress, while telling me we needed to watch our spending. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was furious. Patricia said we had everything we needed for a fault divorce. Adultery. Clear evidence. New York isn't a no-fault-only state, and with this kind of proof I could push for a bigger settlement. Much bigger. I said, make him pay. She said, oh honey, I plan to. The divorce took 6 months. 6 months of lawyers and depositions and court dates, and Preston trying to negotiate. Trying to keep his money. Trying to save face. He offered me the house. I said not enough. He offered me 2 million. I said try again. He offered me 5 million. I said you're getting warmer. We settled on $12 million. Plus the Hamptons house. Plus my gallery with zero claim from him on any future earnings. Plus I kept my car, my jewelry, my art collection, everything I'd brought into the marriage and everything I'd built during it. Preston was livid. Said I was taking him to the cleaners. I said you should have thought about that before you slept with Madison in our guest bedroom during our Christmas party. His lawyer looked uncomfortable. My lawyer looked smug. The divorce was finalized in June. I signed the papers in Patricia's office wearing white. A little symbolic middle finger to the whole thing. Patricia hugged me. Said go live your life, Victoria. You earned it. I did. First thing I did was expand the gallery. I'd been wanting to open a second location for years, but Preston always said it was too risky. Too expensive. Not the right time. Turns out the right time was when I had $12 million of his money and zero obligation to listen to his opinion. I found a space in Miami. Wynwood. This neighborhood full of street art and galleries and creative energy. It was perfect. I signed the lease in July. Opened in September. Called it Sterling Contemporary South. The opening night party was incredible. Artists and collectors from all over Florida. Sales in the 6 figures. I stood in that gallery surrounded by art and champagne and people who actually valued what I did, and I felt more alive than I had in years. Preston sent flowers. I threw them away. The New York gallery was thriving too. I had more time to focus on it now that I wasn't trying to save a marriage that was already dead. I brought in new artists. Young talent. People doing interesting work that challenged people. My sales doubled. Then tripled. By the end of that first year after my divorce, I'd made $4 million. Not bad for a little hobby. But the best part wasn't the money. Wasn't the success. Wasn't even the satisfaction of proving Preston wrong about everything. The best part was Marco. I met him at an art fair in Basel. November. About 18 months after my divorce was finalized. I was there scouting new artists for the gallery, and I walked into this installation and there he was. Marco Rossini. Italian sculptor. 34 years old. Dark hair. Dark eyes. Hands covered in clay dust. Standing next to this incredible sculpture of a woman breaking free from stone. It was powerful. Raw. Beautiful. Exactly the kind of work I loved. I introduced myself. He spoke English with this accent that made everything sound like poetry. We talked about art. About his process. About what he was trying to say with his work. 2 hours went by like minutes. When the fair closed, he asked if I wanted to get dinner. I said yes. We went to this little restaurant. Ate pasta. Drank wine. Talked about everything. Our lives. Our dreams. Our pasts. I told him about Preston. About the divorce. About starting over. He listened. Really listened. Not like he was waiting for his turn to talk. Like he actually cared what I was saying. At the end of the night, he walked me back to my hotel. Kissed my hand. Said I would love to see you again, Victoria. I said I'd like that too. We started dating long distance. Him in Italy. Me in New York. We'd text. Video call. Send each other photos of our work. Every few weeks one of us would fly to see the other. He'd come to New York and I'd show him the city. I'd go to Florence and he'd show me his studio. This incredible space filled with marble and tools and sculptures in progress. 6 months in he asked me to be his girlfriend. We were in Rome. Walking along the Tiber at sunset. He stopped. Looked at me. Said, I know we live in different countries. I know it's complicated. But I'm falling in love with you. And I want to try. I said yes. A year after that he moved to Miami. Said he could sculpt anywhere. Said he wanted to be near me. Said life was too short to love someone from 5,000 miles away. He got a studio in Wynwood. Right near my gallery. We'd have coffee in the mornings before work. Lunch when we had time. Dinner most nights. We'd talk about art and business and life, and he never once made me feel like my gallery was just a hobby. He made me feel seen. That's the thing about starting over. You realize what you were missing. You realize what love is supposed to feel like. It's not supposed to make you small. It's not supposed to make you doubt yourself. It's not supposed to be something you have to fight for alone. Real love lifts you up. Celebrates you. Chooses you. Every single day. Marco chooses me. Every single day. We're not married. I'm in no rush for that. Maybe someday. Maybe never. It doesn't matter. What matters is I'm happy. Actually happy. Not pretending happy. Not Instagram happy. Really truly deeply happy. The gallery is doing incredible. I opened a 3rd location last year. Back in New York. Tribeca this time. Bigger space. More prestigious. I represent 40 artists now across 3 galleries. My annual revenue is in the 8 figures. I'm not just successful. I'm thriving. And Preston? Preston married Madison. 6 months after our divorce was finalized. Had a small wedding in Connecticut. I heard about it through mutual friends. They sent me photos. Madison wore white. Preston looked uncomfortable. They smile in the pictures, but it doesn't reach his eyes. They lasted a year. She left him for someone richer. Someone younger. Someone who could give her what she really wanted. Which was never Preston. It was his money. His status. His ability to buy her Birkin bags and take her to nice restaurants. Turns out when you build a relationship on betrayal and materialism, it doesn't last. Who knew? Preston tried to reach out to me after they split. Sent me an email. Said he made a mistake. Said he should have chosen therapy. Should have chosen me. Said he missed what we had. I didn't respond. Not because I'm petty. Not because I wanted him to suffer. But because I genuinely didn't care anymore. He wasn't part of my story. He was a chapter. A painful one. But just a chapter. And I was writing new ones now. Better ones. Ones where I was the main character and not the supporting role in someone else's drama. Here's what I learned from all of this. What I want you to understand if you're going through something similar or if you're afraid to walk away from something that's hurting you. You teach people how to treat you. For 12 years I taught Preston that I would accept being put second. Being dismissed. Being treated like an accessory to his life instead of a partner in it. I taught him that by staying. By making excuses. By hoping he would change instead of requiring that he did. The ultimatum wasn't the problem. The ultimatum was 12 years too late. If I could go back, I would have had that conversation years earlier. The first time I felt unseen. The first time he called my gallery a hobby. The first time he came home smelling like someone else's perfume. I would have said, this isn't okay. This needs to change. Not someday. Now. But I can't go back. None of us can. All we can do is move forward with the wisdom we earned the hard way. So if you're in a relationship that makes you feel small, leave. If you're with someone who doesn't celebrate your success, leave. If you're pretending everything is fine when it's not, stop pretending. Life is too short. You are too valuable. Your dreams are too important to waste on someone who doesn't see your worth. And if you're afraid of starting over, don't be. Starting over is terrifying, yes. It's uncertain. It's hard. You'll cry. You'll doubt yourself. You'll wonder if you made the right choice. But on the other side of that fear is freedom. Is possibility. Is a version of yourself you didn't know existed. A stronger version. A braver version. A version who knows what she deserves and won't settle for less. That Christmas party was 2 years ago. 2 years. In that time I've built an empire. Found real love. Became the woman I was always meant to be. And it all started with red lipstick on a collar and a choice to value myself more than I valued staying comfortable. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing. Sometimes the person who breaks your heart is doing you a favor. Sometimes losing everything is how you find yourself. I found myself in the wreckage of my marriage. In the pain of betrayal. In the anger and sadness and fear of starting over at 39 years old. And what I found was worth it. So worth it. I'm not saying divorce is always the answer. I'm not saying walk away at the first sign of trouble. Marriages take work. Relationships take effort. But they take effort from both people. Not just one. Not just you carrying the weight while someone else coasts. And they take respect. Fidelity. Honesty. Basic human decency. If those things aren't there, if your partner is choosing other people over you, if they're lying and cheating and making you feel crazy for noticing, then it's not a marriage. It's a prison. And you deserve to be free. I'm free now. Free from Preston. Free from pretending. Free from making myself smaller so someone else could feel bigger. And I'm happy. Really happy. The kind of happy that comes from building a life you're proud of. The kind that comes from waking up next to someone who loves you for who you are. The kind that comes from looking in the mirror and liking the woman looking back. That's what I want for you. That's what you deserve. Whether you're married or single or dating or divorced or somewhere in between. You deserve to be celebrated. To be chosen. To be happy. Not someday. Not when things get better. Not when someone else decides you're worth it. Now. Today. Right now. Choose yourself. Even when it's scary. Especially when it's scary. Choose yourself the way Preston should have chosen me but didn't. Choose yourself the way I finally chose me. That Christmas party could have destroyed me. It could have made me bitter. Could have made me cynical about love and trust and marriage. Could have made me give up. It didn't. It freed me. It showed me what I was capable of. It pushed me to build something better. Something mine. Something no one could take away. The gallery is mine. The success is mine. The happiness is mine. And that's the greatest gift I could have given myself. Better than any Christmas present. Better than any settlement. Better than any revenge. The gift of knowing I'm enough. All by myself. Without anyone else validating me or completing me or making me whole. I was always whole. I just forgot for a while. Let someone convince me I needed them to be complete. I didn't. You don't either. So here's my Christmas message to you. 2 years later. From the other side of the worst night of my life. You are enough. Your dreams matter. Your happiness matters. Your life matters. And if someone in it isn't treating you like you matter, if they're making you question your worth, if they're choosing other people over you, then they don't deserve you. Let them go. Grieve if you need to. Cry. Be angry. Feel everything. But then get up. Dust yourself off. Call the best lawyer you can find. Take what's yours. Build what's yours. Become who you're meant to be. The universe has something better waiting for you. Someone better. Something better. I promise. I know because I'm living it. Right now. In Miami. In my gallery. With Marco in my kitchen making espresso while I get ready for work. With art on my walls that I chose. With money in my account that I earned. With a life that I built from the ashes of the one that burned down. That fire hurt. But it cleared space for something new to grow. Let your old life burn if it needs to. Don't be afraid of the flames. Be afraid of staying somewhere that's slowly killing your spirit. Be afraid of waking up at 50 or 60 or 70 and realizing you wasted your one precious life on someone who didn't deserve it. I almost did that. Almost stayed. Almost chose comfort over courage. Almost let Preston's betrayal make me believe I wasn't enough. Thank God I didn't. Thank God I saw that lipstick on his collar. Thank God I gave him that ultimatum. Thank God he chose her, because it forced me to finally choose me. That's what I want you to take from this story. Not that all men cheat. Not that marriage is doomed. Not that you should give up on love. But that you should never give up on yourself. Never settle. Never accept less than you deserve because you're afraid of being alone or starting over or what people will think. People will always think something. Let them. You go live your life. Your real life. The one where you're the main character. The one where you're thriving. The one where you're happy. That's the life I'm living now. And it started with 5 words in a study on Christmas night. I want a divorce. 5 words that changed everything. 5 words that saved me. Maybe you need to say 5 words too. Maybe not those exact words. Maybe your 5 words are I'm leaving. Or I deserve better. Or I choose me. Or this is over. Or I'm worth more. Whatever your 5 words are, say them. Mean them. Act on them. Your future self will thank you. I promise. 2 years later and I've never been happier. Never been more successful. Never been more myself. And it all started with choosing me over comfort. Over familiarity. Over a marriage that looked good in photos but felt empty in real life. So thank you, Preston. Truly. Thank you for cheating. Thank you for choosing Madison. Thank you for showing me exactly who you were so I could finally become who I am. A gallery owner. An entrepreneur. A woman who knows her worth. A woman who won't settle. A woman who built an empire from divorce settlement money and determination and a refusal to let betrayal break her. I'm that woman now. And I'm never going back to being the woman who wore designer gowns to hide how small she felt inside. The woman who smiled at parties while dying inside. The woman who let someone else define her value. That woman is gone. This woman is here. And she's unstoppable. You can be too. I believe that. I've seen it. I've lived it. So wherever you are right now, whatever you're going through, whatever choice you're facing, whatever fear is holding you back, choose you. Take the leap. Build the life you want. Become the person you're meant to be. It won't be easy. It'll be hard. Really hard. There will be days you want to give up. Days you doubt everything. Days you wonder if you made the right choice. Keep going. Those days pass. And on the other side is everything you ever wanted. Everything you deserve. Everything you're brave enough to claim. I claimed mine. Now go claim yours. The lipstick on the collar was the beginning. Not the end. The beginning of my real life. My true life. My best life. What's your beginning going to be? What's your red lipstick moment? What's the sign you've been ignoring that it's time for something to change? Whatever it is, don't ignore it anymore. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for someone else to choose you. You choose you. Right now. Today. This moment. That's my story. That's my truth. That's my message to you from the other side of the worst and best night of my life. Choose you. Always choose you. Everything else will follow. I'm living proof. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And here's to new beginnings. To fresh starts. To becoming who we're meant to be. To us. To you. To choosing ourselves. Finally. Now if you're still here, if you made it all the way to the end of this story, I want to know where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Drop it in the comments. Tell me your city and the time. I love knowing where my stories are reaching. Who's listening? Who's feeling this message in their bones like I felt it in mine? And if this story resonated with you, if it helped you or inspired you or made you think about your own life differently, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel because I have more stories coming. Real stories. True stories. Stories about love and loss and starting over and becoming who we're meant to be. Next week I'm sharing the story of a woman who discovered her husband's second family at her daughter's graduation. You don't want to miss that one. Trust me. So subscribe. Turn on notifications. And I'll see you in the next story. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me share my truth with you. Remember. You are enough. You are worthy. You are capable of anything. Now go prove it.